ever wondered to yourself, hey, I wonder what a very young and impressionable child was doing around June 20th of 2006? You ever been thinking that very oddly specific thing? On June 20th of 2006, a very, very special thing happened to me. This was the day that The Hills Have Eyes remake was released on DVD. A monumental time for a monumental boy. Look at how monumental I am. Look at me. Let's cut to the chase. The 2006 Hills Have Eyes is on my top list, top 10 list, top 5, I don't know, of horror remakes from the mid-2000s. Horror remakes in general. This remake, directed by Alex Aja, who directed High Tension, and then would go on to have a pretty decent career. Movies like Crawl, movies like Mirrors, movies like Horns. Horns was really good, actually. Horns was a pretty good one. And let me just tell you something. When I originally sat down to watch this movie for this specific video, I didn't think that it was going to be as bad as it was. Not bad, good. Not good, bad. Not bad, bad. Good, bad. I didn't think that the film was going to impact me the same way that it did when I was a wee lad back in 2006. Spoiler alert, it really did. This movie is just as brutal and raw and unfiltered as I remembered it being. And although I think a lot of my emotional attachments to specific characters in this movie is purely nostalgic, I am not afraid to admit that there are times in this movie where I cried. Obviously, this movie would go on to be a commercial success and it would spawn a sequel that we're never going to talk about. And I say that because I was originally going to do a video where I compared the previous two films and the more modern two films, but I got about 75% through Hills Have Eyes 2 last night. And then there's a scene with like a mutant guy and a very long tongue. And then I had to tap out. Not because it was gross. Listen, I have done litmus tests for all kinds of horror. Don't tell me that I'm a little bitch because I stopped because of the tongue guy. No, it was just really stupid. It's really dumb. The story doesn't make any sense. Like, the premise is kind of a cool and interesting premise. But, like, the charm and the originality and the characters just non-existent in the second movie. I have not watched Hills Have Eyes 2, the original, so maybe it's an upgrade, but I don't... God, am I gonna do that? I think I'm gonna do that. Regardless, today I just want to talk about The Hills Have Eyes, and I want to talk about its impact on me back then, and apparently when I watched it again. Because, like I said, I cry like a bitch. I didn't cry like a bitch, by the way. It was emotions. Gumbus was having emotions. I just have to say, there's something about the mid-2000s that I feel like a lot of people hate, and I was one of them. We've had a lot of really, really bad horror movies in the mid-2000s. But am I wrong for saying that I think that we are kind of now realizing how good horror movies were back in the day? Like, it feels like every time I'm on the internet, people are talking about giving a specific film a chance again, or being in this unpopular camp that actually likes some stuff. Like, the series Saw has gone through likes and dislikes. Originally, really cool, and then really stupid to the public, and now virtually loved by almost every horror fan ever. So it's really interesting. I'm trying to understand the dichotomy between, is this a good film, or am I just feeling nostalgic when I watch it? In either camp, I do believe that if the modern society were to revisit this film right now, I think that the majority of everyone would like it. That's not to say that horror films from now aren't very good. I just think that nobody was allowed to be weird. You know what I mean? Like, no one was allowed to be weird. We had to be classy and artistic. That was how we had to make our horror movies. That's why A24 got really, really popular. But A24 is producing super weird and crazy horror movies and giving people who have weird visions a chance, and I think that's really, really interesting, and I hope that we can bring back the weirdness. If you haven't watched the movie, I urge you to watch the movie before you watch this video, but if you haven't watched the movie and you want a little sneak peek into what it is without spoiling it, I will gladly tell you. The Hills Have Eyes is a horror movie about the Carter family who get picked off one by one by murderous nuke babies. That's probably the best way that I can describe it. It's really, really good, and the characters are very, very good. And I am going to start talking about the film in depth now, so spoiler. Spoiler. The film starts with what I can only describe as a Local 58 analog horror film. I think no doubt Chris Straub for sure had to have some kind of inspiration based on this. A super old school song from back in the day being played over like atomic bomb test footage. Really effective to make your point across, but it's also just like, I don't know if you guys have ever really watched specific atomic bomb footage. You could just watch it online. These kinds of clips just, it's freaky to me. There is a liminality to it that really scares the shit out of me. Interspliced with the footage, we get these very disturbing visual jump scares of deformed children, deformed newborn babies. Obviously, this is the effects of the radiation from the test sites. There's a lot of times in this film where they kind of give you a silver spoon with information. I don't really like that. I think it was way more effective when I was a kid, but now that I kind of know what exposition means, there's a big glaring exposition dump towards the middle of the movie. That's, just not really my cup of tea, but when I was a kid, it was really effective because it scared the shit out of me. After the incredibly effective intro, we start the film off at a gas station. We start off with gas station attendant. At least that's what IMDb says is his name. IMDb touts this man as gas station attendant. I, for some reason, thought his name was like Jebediah or Jedediah or Jediah. But that also might just be because of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's almost positively that's the reason. The gas station attendant finds a duffel bag full of a bunch of goodies, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't wear those goodies. Obviously, this is planting the seeds for a much larger organization that is going on. I don't want to say organization. They're not like they don't have an LLC. Were you injured in a Hills Have Eyes accident? Call Jedediah. Where did that even fucking come from? What did I even say? Did that joke even make any sense? Okay. So we see the gas station attendant say that he is out. He doesn't want to be part of any of the situation that they got going on anymore until random Carter family arrives. I was actually really pleasantly surprised. For some reason, I feel like horror movie structures nowadays is like you get like a long intro sequence and then a title card. So I was like, this guy's definitely... Oh my god, I just completely forgot that there was one. There was one. And I didn't even talk about it. For the incredibly effective intro, we get a title card sequence, kind of, I guess, sort of two scientists who are doing some experiments and then getting attacked by one of the mutant people. Title card. I don't know why, but for some reason when I was a child, I completely forgot about that stupid intro part, and I just focused on the gas station attendant. I thought he was... one of the... Anyway, continuing. The Carter family arrives, and I just have to say, for this family being the family that we get to spend the next couple of half an hour with, I don't know if I want to go through all of the characters a la Mean Creek video style, but I do want to talk about certain characters that I like, certain characters that I don't, and I'm going to do that a little... I'm going to do that. I was going to say a little later, but I'm like, I don't know. Right now is a good time. By the way, I live on the bottom of a fucking apartment complex, if you can't hear the little gremlins upstairs stomping their feet like their rent is due and their fucking grape stomp wine stomper. Wow, good joke, Saya. Good joke. That was great. Wow. You should really write a comedy special. The family consists of Big Bob and his wife Ethel, their children's Lynn, Bobby, and Brenda, and then Lynn's husband Doug, their child Catherine, and then their two dogs Beauty and Beast. The family taking a trip to California to celebrate Big Bob and Ethel's silver anniversary. And the whole family decided to come, I guess. It's really weird because of just the day and age of how certain stereotypes of people are celebrated and looked at nowadays, but Big Bob is like stereotypical Republican, and I absolutely love his character. His wife Ethel, kind of a nothing character. She's definitely a mom who seems like she's out of the loop, but also like super religious, and family likes to think that she's uptight. We have Bobby, probably my favorite character. I love the actor who plays Bobby, and he was in another horror movie that I watched when I was a kid. I might talk about that one. It's called Mortuary. Not a lot of people know about that movie. It's really weird. Bobby and Brenda are the closest siblings in age, and they hate each other, but obviously, I mean, that's a relationship that kind of redeems itself in the end of the film. So Brenda is also a character that I really, really like, but I fear that her stereotype is a little too stereotypical. She's a moody teenager from the mid-2000s. She fucking hates everybody. She cusses. She doesn't care. Everything's bullshit. It's accurate to how people used to act. Lynn is a very fine character. Again, kind of a nothing character. I like her more than... Let's talk about Doug. Doug is supposed to be the straw dogs man of this story. He's supposed to be the wimp that prevails and conquers. That is the story of Doug. The problem is that Doug's kind of a sleazebag. They implement little bits of storytelling throughout the entire film, but obviously it is to make Doug look like a little bitch, and then in the end he prevails. But I think they don't really do a very good job of making Doug look like a bitch. If anything, they make Doug look like an asshole. He's constantly butting heads with Big Bob, and over really nothing. Like, again, I guess it was a different time, so I don't know. Maybe arguing about silly stuff like that. Like paying for gas. Bush era, you know what I mean? I guess gas was a hot topic back then. Also, Doug is a phone salesman. Cue people not understanding what cell phones are, because we're in the middle of nowhere jokes. He also looks like he just came from the office. Like he just left work and then got into the RV. Why? Why are you in the desert? Why are you on a road trip dressed like you're taking meetings? Bad costume design. So obviously the gas station attendant helps the people in the hills trap the tourist families, and he suggests to the family that there is a quicker way to California, and obviously it is an off-road where the family get ambushed and crash. Like, why is that cool? During this time, we kind of get to know the characters a little bit more. We talk about Brenda and Lynn's relationship's kind of weird. Doug and Lynn's relationship is weird. There's something very odd about it. There's also a part that I feel like is the most integral part of why I don't like Doug. He looks at Brenda when she's like suntanning. Lynn sees this, by the way. His wife sees this and really doesn't do anything about it. That's kind of why I don't really like him. I don't like Doug. It implies that like she knows that he's a wiener, and it's a weird dynamic. Maybe I'm looking too far into it, which I definitely am, because that's what I do. Yeah, if they were to take that part out, I feel like maybe I would have liked Doug a little more. Like the redeeming arc of Doug is a lot better in my opinion, but like, yeah, that part just, I don't know, it's a very weird part. Big Bob and Doug decide that the best course of action now is to walk the rest of the road. Big Bob decides to go back to the gas station, and Doug decides to go forward on the road to see what lies ahead. During this time, we get pretty stereotypical family moments, talking about reefer and pot and stuff. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Also, I know I didn't really talk about Catherine that much, but Catherine's a baby, so yeah, the baby's there. It does become a very integral part of the entire film, but the baby's just kind of there right now. Doug finds a huge crater that's full of a bunch of abandoned cars and just a bunch of crazy stuff. This is your first indication that, hey, Americans dropped bombs here, bruh. And then back at the crash site, one of the dogs runs away because of stupid Brenda opening the door.
Bobby! Sorry.
And Bobby chases after the dog. Unfortunately, someone decided to take the good old time of taking a big old spoon and scooping out the entire dog, which obviously freaks Bobby out. and runs away. Doesn't get too far, though, because gravity is a bitch. Night falls as Big Bob arrives at the gas station, but no one is there. He looks through the entire place, but he finds some newspaper clippings that talk about families that have gone missing. Oh yeah, did I mention that Big Bob is a former detective? Yeah, Big Bob is useful in this situation. Big Bob immediately knows that something's wrong, and he goes and tries to find a car, and he does. One of the cars starts, but as soon as he flicks on the lights, he sees the gas station attendant in an outhouse. One thing I do want to say before I get too in-depth about what happens is that I remember watching on DVD, specifically the unrated version, and in my opinion, I feel like the unrated version is a more complete movie. The theatrical cut that you can watch on Tubi is over-explanation, like, so bad. I don't think the newspaper clippings are even a part of the unrated version, and I think there's just several more F words. When Big Bob finds the gas station attendant, he is obviously distraught and feels guilty about helping the family that live in the hills. And here's the part where I was like, okay, this is the theatrical edition. So, like, they're not going to show anything. No, they show it. Whole head, whole hog. This obviously freaks out Big Bob as he runs back to the car. But as he's running back to the car, you can hear random people in the distance say, "Daddy." Daddy. It's kind of hot. Big Bob gets to the car and there's somebody in it and he gets ambushed. We cut back to Bobby, who is waking up after falling off of a cliff, after being helped by... Look at you. Well, aren't you pretty? This is Ruby. Ruby is a good mutant. She becomes a very important part of the movie later on. Brenda finds Bobby and brings him back to the RV, where they get him all bandaged up and fine. Not wanting to obviously talk about his dead dog to his family, who are already kind of on edge from the crash, decides to just keep it quiet, but knows that something is going on out there. Doug finds his way back to the RV and decides that it's time to go to sleep, and Bobby, obviously upset at what happened. He hasn't told anybody, though. Waits for his dad to come back to the RV. Doug telling Bobby that if Big Bob doesn't come back before midnight, then they both will go looking for him. Obviously, that doesn't happen. This is the traumatic part of the entire film. Let's talk about it. One thing I want to talk about is the sound design, specifically for this part. It all kicks off when Bobby goes outside because he hears barking, right? And at first, it does sound like barking, but when you get a little further into it and you listen very closely, you can tell the entire time it's a person. It's a person barking. And Bobby then realizes that and runs back to the RV to get Doug's attention. Doug and Lynn are sleeping in the SUV because there's just too many people in the RV. Bobby runs to the back of the SUV and starts talking to Doug. Bobby tells Lynn and Doug about Beauty or Beast. I don't know which one. I think Beast. I think it's Beast because I think Beauty is the one who... I don't remember. Bobby tells Lynn and Doug about their dog dying, and then obviously Doug says, all right, let's go figure out what's going on. Let's go find Big Bob. As soon as they get to the RV, we see Big Bob being lit on fire in the distance. Couple things I want to talk about this shot. This shot is very interesting. I think it's the only shot like that. Oh no, there's one more shot, kind of. I think there's one more shot that's kind of similar to this, but the very still shot of him being burned is uncanny. It's a little uncomfortable, obviously, but it's dated. It's dated as hell. They used practical and CGI, it looks like, and a green screen. The practical effects look fantastic. That's one thing I didn't even mention about this movie. The practical effects are so good in this movie. Everything looks so real, and especially when it comes to like the deformed body features of some of these family members. Big Bob gets burned alive. This obviously causes a huge commotion. Brenda and Catherine are asleep in the RV, and Ethel, Lynn, Bobby, and Doug all see what's happening and run immediately to try to figure out what's going on. But when they all run away from the RV to very disturbing things happen. And things I'm really not going to talk about. I'm not going to talk about the scene because I don't like to talk about those kinds of scenes. Obviously, it happened. I think it is an integral part of the story, but it's paid off in a very disgusting way. Like, it's not paid off in a way that I feel like it would be necessary to even show. So yeah, it does get paid off in the second movie. Incredibly distastefully, though. Big Bob, too crispy to save, but so much more happens. Lynn, hearing Catherine screaming inside, goes to check on her child when she witnesses everything that's happening in the RV. She then gets assaulted, and shit just happens really rapidly. Ethel comes in, finds everything happening. She gets shot, and then Lynn gets shot, and then the two run away. We are left with an aftermath of a family that has just been attacked very quickly, very sporadically, and leaving multi members of their family deceased. I can't imagine what that feels like, and I remember watching that as a kid, and I don't remember the emotions and the feelings that I had at the time, but when I rewatched it, I was like, whoa, this is really bad, like, in a good way, but like, it's terrifying. It's really terrifying. I honestly didn't think that would invoke that emotion in me, but it really did. It made me feel terrified, and movies don't do that for me anymore, so I was very pleased. When Doug gets back to the RV and sees the aftermath of everything that has happened, he realizes that the scavenger people have kidnapped Catherine, his baby. Remember when I said the pacing of this film was really excellent? It really does capture, like, almost act by act, very good storytelling with its pace. Doug then goes on an adventure with one of the dogs, I'm not going to say the name because I don't know and it doesn't matter, to go find his baby. Again, his whole getup looks so stupid. His costume was really bad. Why would you be wearing that? Is that the only thing you have? That's not the only thing you've packed. I understand that things have happened, but like, I don't know, you could probably change something a little more comfortable. You're in the desert, Doug. Doug finds a small town just over the hills, a radiation town. This is one of the towns that they done experiments on, but it looks abandoned because we don't do that anymore. So the family is living in the town. Pretty cool, pretty awesome way of incorporating that too. This is kind of where it gets heavy-handed. Doug mingles with these people. He gets a lot of exposition dump, finds his baby, loses the baby, wakes up in a vat of body parts. It's real stinky in there, probably. The climax of the film, pretty epic. Epic chungus. We get this very heavy-handed exposition dump. It's fine. It's creepy. It's still cool. The prosthetics of this actor, I thought this was a real actor, I'm not gonna lie. I thought they found someone who had some sort of physical anomaly, and they cast him in this. But no, that's prosthetic, and it looks absolutely incredible. I don't know how they did that. It's real good.
What's so funny? It's breakfast time.
After the exposition dump, we get this big motherfucker coming out of nowhere trying to beat the shit out of Doug. Doug does get away and hides himself into a little bit of a bathroom. Get the bathtub. Get the bathtub. Move the bathtub. Yeah, okay. You're fine. You're cool. He's not gonna get in. That bathtub is so heavy. It's fine. We're good. That guy was really big, though. Doug nearly dies, but he outsmarts everybody and gets away. One of the scavenger people tell the other to kill the baby. But, plot twist, Ruby stole that baby, and Ruby is taking the baby up on a hill. Doug, not knowing who the fuck Ruby is, chases after her because he obviously wants his baby. So we get this tense scene on the hill, and it is a cool fight scene. Doug nearly dies, obviously, and then he finds the strength because he looks at his wedding ring, and he gets his baby back. Baby back. He beats the shit out of one of the scavenger guys, and then doesn't shoot him in the head or anything or make sure he's dead. In fact, he does. He drops the gun right next to him. It's Real good, Doug. Did they teach you that at your stupid phone job? Obviously, the guy's not dead, and he points the gun at Doug. He's gonna finish him off. It's gonna be a bad ending, but Ruby, the beautiful Ruby, decides that she's gonna tackle this mofo off the hill and save the day. Doug wins. I want to talk about his character arc because I still really don't like this. In the film, there was a cool example of Bobby being this kind of anti-everything. His personality kind of seemed anti-everything. His dad is obviously like this hardcore Republican, right? But every time they commingle on camera...
So what about like scorpions and coyotes and stuff?
Bobby?
Yeah.
Leave Doug alone. He's a Democrat. He doesn't believe in guns.
I really like it. It's kind of endearing, and it's kind of like, oh, well, yeah, like, of course Bobby knows how to shoot. But the problem is that Bobby doesn't know how to shoot. Bobby sucks at shooting guns. Doug's the one who's against guns, and Doug knows how to shoot. Bobby is fine with guns, but he doesn't know how to shoot. I think I would have rather have Bobby be the redeeming character instead of Doug. I don't like Doug. I'm sorry. He's a sleaze bitch. I don't even know if that's a word, but I made it up.
I thought you quit smoking.
Does my sister know?
Hey, man. Fuck your sister.
I do want to talk about this little side plot that's happening while Doug is doing what he's doing. Back at the RV, we just get Brenda and Bobby trying to set a trap for one of the scavenger people. It's a pretty clever trap, by the way. They take the sliding door of the RV and they put matches at the bottom of it, and then they fill the entire RV with propane so that when the guy opens it, he explodes. It's really good. There's a really good moment where Brenda kind of gets like her comeuppance after her excruciating assault scene. But like, I don't know. I wanted more for her. She's a fantastic actress, by the way. There's like, everybody really kind of hits it out of the park. Like, the acting is not a problem in this movie. There's some weird parts, but like, you know, for it to be like a mid-2000s horror movie, it holds up pretty well. Anyways, Doug comes back with Catherine, and they're all hugging each other, and they're walking out. Psych, bitch, guess what? They are being watched. Yeah, there's a sequel to this, and technically the beginning of the sequel is the payoff of Brenda. That's why I don't like it. That's why I think it's not a good scene, because it doesn't have a good payoff. Did I talk about everything I wanted to talk about? I feel like I talked about way too much. So yeah, that was The Hills Have Eyes. I still think that The Hills Have Eyes it had the potential to be one of those movies that just consists of one really scary scene. It's really funny because like how modern day movies kind of go viral. If The Hills Have Eyes were to be created the same exact way again today and re-released today, everyone would be talking about that scene. It would be like if you were on Twitter or something, it would be like, oh, it's that scene. It's that scene. So I think that we are downplaying that scene as something like forgotten because it's such an impactful horror sequence and something that I feel like has stuck with me in my brain that has molded me into really liking those kinds of tense scenes and really connecting with those scenes. Very high, fast-paced scenes that kind of just leave you dreadful. I think it was such an influential movie to me. Back in the time, I remember playing with action figures, and I wasn't a normal kid because I watched scary movies when I was very young. A little too young. I might be a little fucked, but I would always play my little action figures and I would be like, yeah. And then I remember seeing the trailer for like The Hills Have Eyes 2 and I was like, oh my god, armies? I wasn't that stupid. Anyways, if you guys want me to talk about The Hills Have Eyes 2, I will. This is a look of saying, please don't make me talk about The Hills Have Eyes 2, please. Hey, thank you for watching. Took my breath away. Hey! Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more from me. What's happening? I feel like I'm